Prospect Podcast, an interview edition. You may also be listening to this on the Believe in FCS show, hosted by Joe DeLeon and Sean Anderson. Of course, I am Ryan Roberts at Rise and Draft on Twitter, bringing you an insight into some of the best prospects on any level. Today, we're jumping into the FCS a little bit, talking to a young man who is going into his third season, coming up pretty soon in only a few months. But he's a kid that came in during that COVID year. So he has a bunch of eligibility left, which we're going to talk about a little bit. But I wanted to highlight him because I saw him last spring during that abbreviated season. And I thought Carson Camp, a quarterback out of South Dakota, was one of the more talented quarterbacks on the FCS level. And I'm excited about him next year, the year after, whenever he enters the NFL draft, whenever that happens. I think he's a really talented football player. So inviting Carson Camp onto the show. Carson, appreciate you again, man. I know just got done with the semester. Got that little bit of a lull before summer workouts all start, man. But thank you so much for joining me today.
Hey, Ryan, thanks for having me, man. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely, brother. Absolutely. I mean, like of course, before we started, Carson, we were talking just a little bit about the crazy spring season that you had coming in there as a freshman. I want to get into that, but I kind of want to start you out because I know you're back home now in Bloomington, Illinois. Normal Community West High School was where you did prepped before you ended up at South Dakota. So can you just take me a little bit through high school career? I know you were a 3-sport athlete into the recruitment and how you ended up ultimately at South Dakota.
Yeah, great question. I mean, for starters, obviously I went to Normal Community West, like Ryan just said, but kind of really things started to pick up for me around freshman, sophomore year. I always played quarterback at the quarterback position, all levels, all across the board. But, especially in high school, sophomore year, kind of got those reps at the varsity level, was splitting time with another kid. But that's kind of when things kind of took off. And then, as time went on, I was getting bigger and stronger. And I went up to a quarterback coach in Chicago by the name of Jeff Christensen, kind of fixed some of my mechanics, my fundamentals. Really did a great job, taking me from the bottom and then bringing me up. Not like a robot kind of, but just building me up, all that good stuff. And then really junior year kind of was a big year for me. I mean, that's every year for every recruit at the high school level. But, around that time, around after that junior season finished, that's when I was starting to get, quite a bit of offers. A lot of schools looking at me. University of South Dakota, of course, was a school that offered me pretty early in the recruiting stages of everything. So, again, that was really good stuff that was happening. And then, obviously, as time went on, obviously had a great senior year, phenomenal senior year, was kind of committing early, obviously. I mean, I was already committed to the University of South Dakota, so that was pretty good stuff as well. So I kind of had that weight off my shoulders. I was able to play freely, and then obviously I graduated early. That was around the 2019 year of January, or well, I guess it would have been 2020. But yeah, no, and I was able to join that system pretty early, and kind of the rest kind of took off for itself. I obviously will probably get back into that later.
Yeah, no, absolutely, man. And that's actually a perfect segue, Carson, because I want to talk to you a little bit about the training that you were doing to kind of build up the base, because you're an interesting player, because I think that, you have arm strength, you have athleticism, but you kind of have that little bit of off platform stuff happening, scrambling out, doing all type of stuff, but just kind of working through. So you graduate early, you're enrolling. So the winter semester, right? You're going into the spring. So talk to me, man. You would get there early, and then the season gets delayed. So you're on campus a long time, but you have to wait to play football. What was that like, just going in very awkward time, I guess, if we'll call it that?
Yeah, it was a blessing in disguise. It's kind of how I've told a lot of people. I mean, when you graduate early, you need time to, develop, learn the playbook, develop your body, and then kind of obviously get used to practice, the speed, just connecting with guys, all that stuff. So, yeah, it was a tough time, not just for myself, obviously everyone across the board, but it was a good thing because it gave me more time to learn the playbook, and then also it gave me more time to connect with the guys. I mean, I was only gonna, if COVID didn't happen, I was only gonna get that spring semester, summer, and then 3.5 weeks of fall camp, and then bam, the season was gonna get right into it. So theoretically, I would have got only anywhere between 8 to 12 weeks of with the guys, learning the playbook, and then developing my body. But with that COVID year, or excuse me, like the delay of COVID kind of happening, that gave me an extra, I don't know, probably about an extra year to figure things out. So I really needed that, and I just turned that the negative COVID atmosphere into a positive kind of deal, where I was like, hey, let's learn the playbook, let's get better, let's just worry about myself, focus on myself. And obviously when the springtime happened, I was able to get the job.
Yeah, and obviously you had a lot of success in that spring. I think you only played 4 games, right?
Yeah,
And
4 games.
you go right from that spring now into a fall season. I've talked to a lot of people that have done that, and I feel like there's been a very big mix of some people loved it because it's just like continuous football, and then some people didn't love it because it's like my body needs to rest at some point, right? Where do you feel like you align with how much did you like the spring right into the fall? Were you a fan of it? Was it weird? Was it just something that you had to accept? Like, what was your feelings just on that quick transition?
I mean, it was a little weird because that was my first season of anything, really. I mean, I had no spring ball, none of that. I mean, it was just kind of some practices and then spring football, 4 games, like you said, and then we kind of hopped right into it in that season. Me personally, I liked it. I think it was good just because, again, a lot of guys like said, hey, it's you have spring season, you play a couple games. Okay, we have the summer break, then bam, right into fall season. You kind of everyone wants to play games. So for myself, the young and I was, which wow, I mean that was 2.5 years ago now. I mean I just wanted to play games, really get after it. I can see why people wanted to maybe that wasn't really the best idea because a lot of guys need to take care of their body. I mean I played the quarterback position. I probably wasn't getting hit a lot too much. Again, our season got cut short in the spring, but it was good. I kind of looked at it like it was like a red shirt season almost 4 games, kind of got 4 games under my belt. Bam, let's get right into the fall season. No, I liked it. I think it was good stuff. And obviously the season ended up well for us as well.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I know we're going to especially talk about this past fall because I thought you did a lot of great stuff. I wanted to circle back, though, real quick. You mentioned Coach Christensen, who was a big help in your development. Do you still work with him now, or was that more a high school thing?
Nope, I still work with Christensen to this day. I go to him right now. I mean, shoot,
Nice.
every time I get on break, every weekend, throughout the weekday, if he's around, I'm there. He's got another guy by the name of Preston Earl. He's really, really, really good guy as well. So I mean, all across the board, throw deep is what it's called. It's a great academy. We got a lot of college guys that go to him, but no, I still work with him. He does really good stuff.
Well, and so my question is now, because I find it's really kind of fun to think about a little bit because you mentioned Coach Christensen. You mentioned, building yourself up from the base, right? And kind of working your way up. And I know there's a big thing about like, hey, we want to keep our lower body and upper body mechanics aligned and we want to work in unison and do all that type of stuff. Now with how the game though was kind of evolving a little bit, and I know you have this talent, the ability to work off platform a little bit, throw from different arm angles, work out of the pocket, do all those types of things in extender. How do you balance trying to stay in unison, be picture perfect from a technical perspective, but still keep that aspect of your game? Is that difficult to balance?
Yeah, that's a great question, actually. I would say it's a lot to ask as a quarterback. A lot. What we kind of emphasis and what Jeff emphasizes is, can you get that front hip in the ground and just throw the ball? I mean, can you get? I know a lot of guys like throwing the run, but we talk about your balance and your back foot. I mean, a lot of it is balance at the quarterback position. Can you stay balanced in and out of the pocket, sliding left or right and delivering a strike with your hip in the ground and getting that quirk kind of like through that hip motion? And no, it is a lot to ask, like I said, but for me personally, you've seen it. A lot of people have seen it. I mean, I can throw from different arm angles. I love doing it. I would just say I think a key thing that Jeff helped me out to allow myself to do that is just staying balanced. So yeah, I love it. I think it's good stuff. I think, like I said, I think the key word I keep on saying is balance.
I love that, man. I'm a little bit of a football nerd, so I just had to ask that question. That's
No,
like one of my
great
favorite
question.
things.
Great question.
Love it, man. Love it. So now, Carson, I want to talk about obviously the fall season. You guys end up making the playoffs. You had a great victory over South Dakota State that I want to go into a little bit more in depth. So talk to me about your first full season and just kind of outlook on it after, with some hindsight involved in it. How much of a success was it? How much did you enjoy your first full season a part of South Dakota?
I love my first season. A lot of ups and downs, of course. That's the quarterback position. I mean, that's any college team, especially at a young age. There's a lot of things you can learn from. But overall, I thought it was great. Got a lot of experience under my belt. Was able to play, I mean, pretty much every team in our conference besides, I think, one, which was Youngstown. I think another team too. But I loved it. I thought our schedule really played out well. I mean, our guys from South Dakota, I mean, they played really, really well. Not even just offensively, but defensively. I loved it. I think towards the end of the stretch, we really came together. Obviously, we played UNI and then Western, then State, and then North Dakota State. Obviously, we came out 3-1 in that last stretch of the season, and that was kind of it was a deal breaker. It was win or go home in those last 4 games. I know West Illinois hasn't been the best team, but they are still a really good, solid team, and I think they're going to be a solid team in the future. But no, I thought it was great. I think it was really good stuff. I loved it. We got to play 13 games, and right now, and even in the spring and in the summer, I get to go back and watch those games and learn from myself, and then take what I need to work on into the next season.
Absolutely. I mean, it's really well said. And I know, so my buddy Joe, who's on the FCS show, he asked me to ask this to you because, he was one of the highlights of the season. He wanted to ask me about that. It was that Hail Mary against South Dakota State, right? The last play of the game.
Yeah.
Was that your first Hail Mary in your career, man? And what was that moment like?
Yes,
just overall?
Yes. When we called Hail Mary, I was like, I've never even thrown one of these. The last time I threw one of these was like back in 2017 on Madden. But like it's crazy. That was like kind of we don't really work on it. I mean, not a lot of teams work on it. I mean, some scenarios that you talk about maybe in the film room. Hey, if this happens, hey, you know what to do. This is where we go. But no, we've all seen it. The South Dakota State quarterback, he threw the ball out of bounds, got 1 second, and like I said, we were able to, draw up Hail Mary, I guess you can call it, and it worked.
Yeah, it sure did work, man. I know I'm excited about your team coming back, because I know you mentioned, there's a couple of nice defensive players for sure coming back, but I mean, I think about Bell at wide receiver is a really good player. I know Thomas. I mean, man, you guys were really young last year. I mean, I think Thomas is a sophomore, Bell was a freshman, if I remember correctly. So you have a lot of guys coming back who are really integral parts of that offense. Talk to me about how explosive and just how good you feel like this team can be going into 2022.
Yeah, I would say also, like, a lot of people are forgetting about the offensive linemen. I mean, we got pretty much our whole line returning back. We're looking for a center right now it's going to step up. But you're right. I think Carter Bell at the slot position. Obviously we have Travis Tice. Who else? I mean, Michael Manzaray, and like you said, Nate Thomas as well. I'm just thinking of other guys off the top of my head. But no, those are guys that are going to step up. I'm excited about them. I think, with Carter Bell, I mean, the kid's got probably the most experience on the offensive side of the ball besides myself and Travis Tice. And I think that kid can do some crazy things in space. So I'm excited to throw the ball to Bell. We got some outside receivers that are going to be coming back, and we got a couple new guys coming in, Wesley Ellador and Javion Phelps, Kai Lovett as well. Those are 3 guys on the top of my head right now that had a really, really good spring ball. So I'm excited to throw those guys the ball week 1 through week 12. So it's going to be a really explosive offense. I mean, Ted Schlafke, our offense coordinator, he does a great job. We did a lot of things this past spring ball, and we emphasized a lot of good things. So I'm excited about this offensive group.
Yeah, and I love that you mentioned the offensive line. I mean, what's Alex Jensen, right, is the left tackle. He's a really good player. Former tight end, if I remember that correctly.
Correct. Yeah, you got that right. Wow.
He's a really athletic kid. So I'm excited just about the offense in general. I guess, Carson, if I can kind of just move forward now from a team perspective that I just asked you about, let's talk about an individual perspective. Obviously, you took the abbreviated season, you turned it into a really nice redshirt freshman campaign. I guess we'll call it that. What are the expectations for yourself now? Do you want to be the best quarterback in the Valley? Do you want to be the best quarterback in college football next year? Like, what are your expectations for your own game?
This is a really big year for myself. I would say just throughout the whole season, winning games, that's the big deal, obviously, right now. But I want to be the best quarterback that college football has, FCS, FBS level, whatever you want to call it. That's the goal right now. This is going to be a huge leap for me this season to be under that category of one of the best quarterbacks that can go to the FCS football league and also FBS as well. But those are my expectations. I want to win games, but also as an individual as well, I want to be the best I can be. And if that's, having a high completions percentage, maybe throwing less picks, more touchdowns, more yards, whatever the case may be, I want to make it happen. And that's the goal of mine.
I wanted to ask this one for you a little earlier in the interview, but I completely forgot about it. And it's an interesting one for me because I love asking guys about some role models that they have on the football field. So who are some quarterbacks maybe in the past, present that you've watched? I know you were number 18. I don't know if you were a Peyton Manning fan or not, but who are some of your guys?
I mean, everyone loves Tom Brady. I mean, I mean, at least we all do. I do. If I want to kind of go off the boat a little bit, I love watching John Elway. Got some good film. Dan Marino, really good guy. I actually met Dan Marino down in Florida at the Sports Illustrated Awards. Really good dude. Got to talk a little bit about football for about 3 to 5 minutes, but I love watching those guys. Thought those guys were really good. obviously, like I said, I really do like Tom Brady. If we're talking about more guys that are kind of coming into this draft, or that did come to this draft, big fan of Carson Strong. I think he's really good. Really had some good stuff at Nevada. We watched a lot of Nevada film. I thought he was really good this past season. And then another guy on top of my head is the Bailey Zappi kid from Western Kentucky. I thought he was really good. So I love watching those guys. But I mean, obviously the gold medalist, or the guy that everyone loves, is Tom Brady. So I mean, I would love to go with Tom Brady, but hopefully I can rattle off a couple other quarterbacks that everyone knows. And like I said, I like all those guys.
Carson Strong has a great first name too, right?
Yes, he does.
Love it, man. I guess, Carson, I kind of want people to understand this for a second, because the reason I love talking to some of the best players in the FCS, and I mean, I've talked to a lot of great guys like Spencer Brown, Trevor Penning, Ellerson Smith, some of the really best players that have come out of FCS football, Cole Strange over the last few years. And I mean, we just saw FCS in this past draft. I think they had like 24 players drafted, which was a record. So I feel like a lot of people underrate the level, obviously. And I want them to understand just how competitive the Missouri Valley Conference is, because everyone knows North Dakota State, South Dakota State, your team included, UNI. There are so many great football players in that conference. Can you just speak to the level of competition that you see each and every week?
I mean, you mentioned about the draft. Stats don't lie. I mean, if you're seeing that number, I mean, that number keeps on increasing year after year after year. So the competition in the Missouri Valley, I mean, it's fantastic. I mean, even when I committed to South Dakota, I kind of even was like, oh, well, how's the competition? Yada. First game right off the bat, we played Illinois State, great competition. You know, guy comes off my head, John Ridgway, guy that just got drafted in the 5th round by the Dallas Cowboys. I mean, that's how it goes. So, competition in Missouri Valley for everyone. I mean, it is the real deal, and it doesn't matter what your record is. Every week is going to be a battle. There's no cupcake games, none of that. I've learned that after the season. There's no such thing as a cupcake game. I mean, it doesn't matter. You and I, we beat them by 25 points. Doesn't matter. That was a really tough, hard fought game. So, I mean, I think it was, again, this past season, again, a lot of competition. More and more competition is going to continue to keep going in the Valley, especially with the portal being hot and everything. I mean, it's going to be some good stuff. So, no, Missouri Valley, really good competition, really good conference.
And kind of like my last question for you, Carson, is, again, you are a guy that has a lot of eligibility left. I obviously think that there's something to you. I think that down the line, you could be one of those next in line of draft prospects. So I know we're probably looking forward very far in advance, but just whenever that opportunity does come to you, whether it is 2024 NFL draft, 2025, whatever it ends up being, just how long has kind of playing a professional football player been a dream for you? And what would it be like, just kind of the blessing of having that opportunity if it does come?
Yeah, ever since I touched the football, I was like, I would love to play in a professional football league. I have a very high passion to play in that league. I mean, I watch nothing but NFL football film. I love watching film. I love doing that stuff. So I envision it. I always think about it. It's always something fun to talk about, think about, whatever you want to call it. But yeah, I mean, it would be a true dream come true. And a lot of people, talk about, well, I want to get into the league, but for myself is I would love to get in the league, but then I want to turn around and be a franchise quarterback, and I want to win a Super Bowl. I have goals beyond just getting drafted. So that's just kind of my mindset. Again, like I said, it'd be a dream come true, and I would love it.
Again, joined here by Carson Camp, quarterback out of South Dakota. Carson, this was fantastic again, man. Really appreciate the quick turnaround, getting in touch. Wishing you the best of luck this season, man. But thank you so much for the time today.
Thank you, Ryan. I really appreciate it.